to your Wednesday. We'll see rain and thunder showers march in from the west. Some of the rain locally heavy through early afternoon, highs upper 60s. Tonight, decreasing clouds, drier lows upper 40s. For Thursday, beautiful. Lots of sun near 65, turning cooler Friday. Come to Larry's world-famous buffet in Trenton, featuring some of the finest home-style cooking around. Larry also offers catering. That's Larry's, open Thursdays through Sundays, just off 559 Trenton. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Good afternoon, Chattanooga. You are listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and this doc is in the house. Joining me today is a very special guest on a very special topic. Today's topic of discussion: when the breakup was the best thing that ever happened to you. Joining me today is Dr. Carol Stoney, for a relationship expert who runs her own private company called Healing for Couples. She has a multitude of experience that she can offer forward on today's discussion, and we're going to be going through the topics basically related to overall how to achieve healthy relationships and how to identify dysfunctions when they're occurring. So welcome, Carol.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. We're going to have fun talking about this.
This is
challenging sometimes issue.
It is. This is a big issue, I think, that a lot of people face. And it's one that so easily, I think, goes into such complexity, and it's hard to sometimes figure out, like, how on earth do you identify the dysfunctions, and how, more importantly, do you pull more positive behaviors out of the relationship? And so I wanted to spend some time today during our broadcast focusing on that very topic. So I want to give our listeners here first, if you don't know who you're listening to, you're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. If you'd like to call in during the segment, we are taking live calls relative to the topic of discussion. The phone number here is 423-800-8949, and you can also join us on Facebook as well as Twitter. We're also live streaming today's broadcast at www.hotnewstalkradio.com. You can find me personally at Danielle Mitchell on Facebook, or the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. And Carol, what is your contact information for your practice?
Well, the best way to reach my practice is to look at the website, which is healingforcouples.com. Or if you need to reach me another way, is an email, which is carol@healingforcouples.com.
And that's Carol with a C as in cat, CAROL at healingforcouples.com. Okay. So we hope that you find today's discussion helpful for you. So give us some background here, Carol. How long have you been a relationship therapist, and what's your training?
Well, I've been studying this. Gosh, I knew when I was a junior in high school that I wanted to study stuff seriously.
Oh,
and
wow.
then went to college knowing that's what I was going to study, but didn't think I'd have much credibility as a 21-year-old. So I kept on studying. So really, I've been doing this for about 25 years.
Wow.
And I've gotten to study with the best therapists and the best researchers in the world. So I'm very, very fortunate, like John Gottman, who's the best researcher in the world, and Dr. Susan Johnson, who's the other best researcher in the world, and Harville Hendricks, wonderful leaders in the world of imago therapy, Gottman method therapy, and emotionally focused therapy. And you can find out a lot more about them on my website. The exciting thing is that we now do know what's happening in healthy relationships. We've really nailed it. The researchers,
so it's not a box anymore of mystery.
It is not a mystery. And Sue Johnson says that. This is not a mystery anymore, people.
Good.
You know, it may be counter to what your brain tells you to do, but it is not a mystery anymore. We can talk to you about what makes a healthy relationship and the things that you're doing that sabotage it. That's a pretty exciting time to live.
Yeah. And being able to identify, you know, where we're talking about today, what is the dysfunction, and more importantly, how can you make a change in that situation? That's really, you know, taking that mysterious X factor out of this equation, I think, is so beneficial for people. And I love the fact that you come to the table with 25 years of experience in this field. So, I mean, if anybody, I feel like, has seen it and done it all with regards to, you know, relationship dysfunction and how to really work around that, I think you really have a lot of information to offer to the table. So again, thank you for coming. So today's show, we're going to kind of do two things together because I really want to highlight some dysfunctions, because you can talk about, you know, there's the standard dysfunctions that we always hear about, you know, lying, cheating, the worst of the worst. But there's also small things too that you can pick up, I think, at the very beginning of relationships or at monumentous times during a relationship, that can be really significant if you pay attention to what exactly is going on in that particular situation, because it can be representative of something going on overall.
Oh, sure.
So
but who wants to do that?
I know, right? It's just too, yeah. It's like, oh wait,
well,
I just want to.
Those drugs. In the very beginning,
yeah,
to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I think this person is really hot, and so I'm just going to ignore the fact that X. So yeah, no, I want to. As we go through the show today, we're going to be playing a game for you guys where we're going to interject questions as we go along, and the game is what should you do when you discover X. And so we're going to talk about like scenarios and pull out not only what is the dysfunctional behavior there or what might it represent, and what is some of the potential solutions to extract yourself from that situation and have a healthier outcome. So, relationships, I have to say, and what I do as a family practitioner, this definitely overshadows one of the 3 pillars of health that I talk about. So the 4 pillars of health that I talk about in my practice that I try to teach my patients is number 1 is nutrition. That's like 80% of the equation, I think. Number 2 is intentional activity or exercise. Number 3 is emotional well-being. And this is really like where relationships fall into big time. So what are people doing to fill their cup? And relationships can often do that for them when they recognize what's the positive benefit that they're having, or it can impact it negatively as well.
Oh, it's a tsunami.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it's going badly, it's like a paintbrush, I say, over all of that other stuff. We're done.
That's right. Yeah. And then number 4 is sleep, which also can be impacted by relationship health as well. So these are, relationships are complex. I'm very impressed with how some of my patients come into clinic, and they might be coming in to talk about, I don't feel well, I'm fatigued. And then when we really start dissecting down the 4 pillars, we find out, whoa, there's something big time going on with emotional well-being. And as it turns out, I'll hear hints of, I don't feel respected by my spouse or my significant other, or there's just an instinctive unhappiness that we start picking up on there, and certain types of body language that can be read. And I think you probably would see this more, and I'd like you to comment on it, particularly when we have couples now that their relationships are so complex. You have usually 2 career people in the relationship. Like, what do you see as the struggle there?
Well, I always giggle when people come in, because they'll come in and I'll say, like, what's going on with you? What's happening in the relationship? Obviously, they're distressed if they're coming in, and they'll say, well, we've got problems with communication. And I'll say, no, you don't. You're communicating something all of the time. Are you communicating patience? Are you communicating love? Are you communicating tolerance, interest? Are you communicating contempt and disdain and irritation? And a lot of those can be affected. A lot of those can be affected by, are you getting enough sleep? Are you well nourished? Are you exercising? Do you feel good? These do affect each other very deeply. And so I think that's the first thing that we need to talk about, is that these relationships don't just happen. They are a verb.
Right.
And they're things that we do when we don't feel like it, in the same way that we have exercise in our lives. Right. And I'll ask clients pretty regularly, do you always feel like getting up and going to the gym or going on that walk or going to the run? They'll say no. And I'll say, well, how do you feel after? After you do that? So, well, I feel great. And I'll say, well, guess what? Relationships are that way too. After you get past the chemical high of the first 18 to 36 months. Well, and you get this wonderful benefit. Yeah. It's not an anchor around the neck kind of work. It's this wonderful thing where, you know what, I don't feel like doing this. And when I do, I feel great. And it just begets good.
So it's like a discipline, it's like much in the same, like if what I do in terms of training for Ironman. I've found in my relationship currently, I feel like it is really a discipline. Like you have to come back. And I can speak from personal experience. Whenever I give recommendations about, I want you to go see X person, I've usually either have a close personal connection to that person. And so I know about what their skill set is. And I openly share very warmly, I have used Carol as a relationship therapist, and my goodness, some of the best, I feel like. Just really being able to get into the heart of the matter and do so, I think, in a very unbiased, non-judgmental way. So
that's kind. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And it's deserved, because, there are things when there's a stigma around saying, I see a therapist. There's this, and certainly I think around mood disorder, there's such a stigma in our society, and I'm all about busting that up. Like, I think that it's one of the healthiest things that you can do in a relationship when you sense dysfunction going on, especially when you feel like, whoa, this is way bigger than me, to be able to throw out the white flag and say, here's some of the most powerful words in our vocabulary. I need help.
Well, let's just say, of course you do. How would you know how to do this? Right? I don't know how to do surgery because I've never been to that school.
Right.
And I don't know how to, fix the pipes in my house.
Right.
And because I don't have that wonderful training.
Yeah.
But this is what I've studied. And I think that's one of the great myths of love and relationships, that if we pick the right person, it's going to go easily, and it should go easily.
You hear that? It is a myth, you guys. Happiness.
It is a complete myth. This is something that we need to study. I wrote this blog one time about avocados and how I learned how to peel them and deal with them. I knew they were good for me, but I was completely intimidated until I actually watched a YouTube video. Because I couldn't figure out how to deal with it. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I think really relationships are a lot in the same way. I see strength when people are in my office. I see them saying, this is really important. I realize it's affecting my health. It's affecting my work. It affects everything when your relationships are not going well. So
an expression of strength. That's important.
Absolutely. I have never seen a weak person come in my office.
Yeah.
They come in here saying, hey, look, something hurts. Ouch. Can you help? And I say, yes. Let's figure out what's going on. I don't know which direction we're going, but we'll figure it out.
And I'm so glad that you brought that point up, because I think there's this, it's been referred to in other discussions I've had with people as the relationship train, where people will date someone and their train stops like every 2 years because, we've reached a point in this relationship where it's so dysfunctional that I'm not happy anymore. And I'm going to go out and find that person that makes me happy.
The updated phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's where the spending and the traveling and all that other stuff comes out. And it's like, sometimes you have to, instead of looking, and this is actually most of the time, instead of looking at that other person, you need to first look back at what's happening in yourself. Right.
When most of us aren't trained to do that, Danielle. And that's why it's so difficult to say, what is happening for me when I get so irritated with you? What is happening? Why is it that thing that's making me so angry that I just want to shred you for doing, putting your shoes in the wrong place in the house?
Right.
Why is it?
It's not the shoes that's the problem.
Right. And what we do as humans is we terrorize each other at those moments because we don't like that behavior that the other person is doing, versus saying, wait a minute, can I talk about this in a way with you that says I care about you?
Yeah.
Because that is the only way to get through any issue if you want to be in a relationship.
Yeah. So this brings up our first question on the game of what do you do when you discover X? So this one, this is funny. This one's really funny.
Right, bring it on.
Okay. So you are visiting your partner's house for the first time, and you walk into the bathroom and you discover there is dog poop next to the toilet.
Nice.
And you find out the dog died 6 months ago.
Oh, Danielle.
What is the dysfunction? Because it's not the dog poop in this case. And what should you be worried about? What should you do to make that situation better for yourself?
Okay, I'm seeing all kinds of exit signs, first of all, but I think the first thing we've got to do is go, okay, if this is somebody who's living like that, right, in a way that's not consistent with the way that I live, that's not the way I keep my bathroom clean, right? So I'm going to have a reaction to that.
Yeah.
I might make the assumption that it's going to continue to be that way.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the most important thing we can do. We are not getting married or partnering with people long term and having them change because they love us. Well, if you loved me, you would do this. Folks, that works for about a month. 2 months tops.
And this brings in like long distance relationships too, are more and more now that online dating is so prevalent, I think, in the dating culture, that long distance relationships become very easy, I think, or more accessible for people to get into. And so I'm always what I have learned through experience and through counseling is that you need to actually, before you are intimate and tied to somebody, I think in a significant way, you need to really explore your partner's life. What is their home life like?
Right.
Because that's a representation of them. Sure. So when you see the dog poop next to the toilet and the dog died 6 months ago, that's really a sign. It's not that you have an issue with the dog poop next to the toilet. It's like, whoa, this person might not tend to things that are small or even more importantly, bigger things that are way more important.
They might not. And so the question, if you're going to partner with that person, since we're not each other's hall monitors, is to say, okay, wait a minute. I would not have a bathroom that way. Am I willing to partner with somebody where it looks like I'd be doing the majority of the bathroom cleaning?
Right. Exactly.
It looks like this is not really my standards, and maybe we could work together on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they've given you a huge sign that, hey, look, this is not terribly important to me.
Right.
I have, if you like this person already, then there are probably other things that he or she is doing quite well.
20 times the positive, right?
Right. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But we get absorbed by the negative because we have brains. Congratulations, we're alive.
Yeah.
But I think we need to really look at that situation, which we don't when we're dating. Right. We overlook it and say,
Puppy
that is hilarious. What a souvenir from your dog. Right?
The red slime in the tub that's also there and it moves. Maybe we've got an issue.
It's easy to look past it when those chemicals are running around the brain.
That's right. So we're already getting into some really great stuff here. You're listening to AM Hot News Talk Radio. This doc is in the house. I'm being joined today by relationship expert Dr. Carol Burns Stoney. The topic of discussion: when the breakup was the best thing that ever happened to you. Please stay tuned. We have more to come on this segment in a few minutes.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, ya!
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event. Going on now, a huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus, all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale, too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event. Going on now at Carter Shooting Supply, or shop from home by going to CarterShootingSupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Good afternoon, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and this doc is in the house. I'm Dr. Danielle Mitchell, and I'm joined today by Dr. Carol Burns Stoney from Healing for Couples, who is a 25-year experienced relationship counselor, joining us today to help us dissect out the dysfunctions of relationships, and more importantly, how to really start, I think, a positive change in your current relationship or going into your next relationship. So again, welcome, Carol. Thank you so much.
To be here.
Yeah. So the next segment here, we're going to be spending some time talking about basically how to perform something that we call a relationship pulse check.
Okay.
Right. And so the idea behind a relationship pulse check is finding out where your partner and you are at in synchrony or in dysynchrony with each other.
Right.
So how does somebody in a relationship go about initiating a relationship pulse check?
Well, I think first we have to talk about the reason that we would do that. And if you started a company right now, and even if it were a great idea, Danielle, it was the best idea in the world, and you never checked on it, that would be pretty stupid.
Right.
And so when you start a relationship with somebody, it's just as important to check in and say, how are we doing? How am I doing with you? Are you feeling loved by me?
How many people do you think do a relationship pulse check?
Well, unfortunately, they end up in my office or other offices when they haven't, because we live with this assumption, like we do with our health, with everything else, that it's just going fine, or our car is doing fine unless the lights go on.
Yeah.
Right. And unless we have, an appendix rupture.
Preventative maintenance.
Well, and it really is. And this is what we want to be doing in relationships too, because it's the most loving thing that you can do with a partner.
You hear that, you guys?
To say, you're so important to me. You're so important to me. I want to know, how am I doing with you?
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised at what you hear. Because your partner might say, you know what, I think we're doing great over here, but there's this one area that I'm noticing that I wish we spent more time doing this. Yeah. And that's when I want us to go, bring it on.
Yeah.
Okay. I never would have thought of that. And I say to couples all the time, you don't always get hungry at the same time. You don't always want to go to sleep or have sex or any of these things at the same time. Why would you have the same feelings at the same time?
Right.
You are married to a completely, or partnered with a completely different human being who has a completely different story and background than you do. You're going to have triggers for pain and for pleasure that are completely different. So let's check in with each other every once in a while and say, hey, is your tank full? How am I doing with you? Are we okay?
And there's actually two things that you're doing at that point that are contributing to a more positive experience between the couples. Number one, just asking for a relationship pulse checks. That shows that, hey, I'm invested. I want to know, how are we doing? And then you get to find the finer details behind what you could potentially change to benefit both of you in that relationship.
If you're curious and not defensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if your partner came to you and said, well, I don't think we're spending enough time together. And you said, well, if you would do this, 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 and this, and maybe we'd be able to, you've missed the whole message, which was your partner saying, I really want more time with you.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go into this kind of exercise, and by the way, a lot of couples do this in my office. They might come in once a month even, or every few months and say, all right, I just want to check in with you and see how we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, what a beautifully positive thing to do with your partner, because we also look at the fact that when you run a home with somebody, you run a business and you run a love life. Right. So you've got to do both. You've got to be able to have somebody calling the plumber and keeping children alive,
mowing
possibly,
the lawn,
if that's what you're doing.
The leaves raked.
Yeah. So you've got that side of the house, which, by the way, is demanding.
Yeah.
And if that side of the house is not going well, it does affect your intimate life. And if your intimate life is not going well, it does affect the way that you're running your business. So I think it's sharp to be able to say to each other, look, you're important to me.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Or I feel like we're off track and I want to get back on track with you.
Yeah.
It's not a criticism.
Yeah.
Guys, if you hear that from your girl, it is not a criticism.
So, going to the next kind of topic on this, because one of the things that I quite commonly encounter, both professionally as well as I've had my own experience with this, talking about the discussion in terms of loyalty and the big common thing that happens, cheating. Cheating is like, I was amazed when I first got into what my form of counseling is, being a family practice physician, how many people actually came forward to say I was in a relationship with someone who cheated on me, or I cheated on them. Extremely common. I would almost estimate that more than half of the population at this point has had either some type of physical relationship and or emotional relationship.
And those are dominating right now. The emotional ones.
Yeah. And the personal ones, I think, are even, I see it as there's almost a physical, or I'm sorry, there's almost an emotional intimacy that happens in forms of cheating that is not recognized. Or even, I think it's even split. It seems like guys may not necessarily grasp as much that a close, intimate, personal relationship with somebody like a woman, for example, if they're attracted to women, that is very threatening to their partner. And a lot of people won't recognize that as cheating, but it is cheating if there are intimate details that are being exchanged. So take, for example, let's say a guy has a confidant, and we'll even say in this case, I'm going to use the example of guys that talk to their mom about personal, intimate details of their relationship with their partner. What's your thought on that?
I wouldn't have an issue with it if the partner was okay with it.
Okay, so you should first get consent from your partner.
Yeah, is that make you feel comfortable or uncomfortable if my mom knows this about us, and then pay attention to that, because there's a relationship that you have that needs a lot of bubble wrap around it, that needs a lot of respect around it.
Bingo.
And the big word is protection. Does my partner feel like he or she matters? Is the key question that we're always saying. And I really want people to hear this, that love does not keep couples together. Love does not keep couples together. That's so important.
What does keep them together?
It's the feeling that I matter to you, even in all this difficulty. My values matter. My thoughts matter. My beliefs matter. Doesn't mean we agree.
Yeah.
We know from the research that at least 69% of the time couples are going to disagree.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. So that's not our agenda,
time,
right? Your agenda is not to be in complete sync with somebody.
Yeah.
I was laughing in the lobby before I came in that we know that the research says that the 2 times that people lie the most are when they're dating or when they're interviewing. Right.
Yeah.
And so it takes some time to figure out who this person is.
Yeah.
After you've been together for a while, figure out what their values are. It takes a while to figure out, is this somebody to whom I'm going to feel like I matter once all of that shininess, all the glitter comes off? Does this person know how to treat someone like he or she matters? Do I treat myself like I matter?
Yeah.
It is another big one in that dance.
I want to ask, we're going to interject now with one of the questions on what should you do when you discover X. Okay, so on this very topic of discussion, let's say that you've arranged time to spend with your partner, and it's more of a casual date setting, like, hey, we're going to go to the ball game, and they stand you up. And even worse, when you call the partner to find out, hey, where are you? They tell you, no, I'm not going, and I'm going to go actually this weekend with other friends. What does that communicate? What's the dysfunction there, and how do you pull yourself out of that bad situation?
Well, first of all we've heard is one side of that story. If I had that couple in my office, I'd be asking him what happened for her, whoever it was who didn't show up. What happened, that this event didn't happen. Your partner made this bid for your attention. That's what we call it. A bid is like knocking on a door and hoping that your partner is going to open that door and say, oh, I'm glad you're here. Right? But in this circumstance that you've given me, the partner knocked, opened the door, and there was nobody there, which is catastrophic.
Yeah.
The third one is knocking on the door and having the partner come out and yell at you or curse at you and say, get off my porch or whatever. Right. So, but this one was an empty doorway. Yeah. Nobody there. So how in the world can you feel like you matter?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I think we blow it with each other all the time, Danielle, regularly and often. I'd like that to be in any contract that couples have with each other.
Yeah.
That just to know that we're going to blow it. And maybe this person really behaved badly. My question is going to be bigger, is can you repair that with this person? Can you say, I really blew it. I should not have done that. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. The predictor for me of whether they can have a relationship is how that person who did not show up treats the other partner.
Right.
Is it dismissive? Like,
and that's it.
Listen, if you hadn't acted like such a jerk, I would have shown up, or, or whatever it is that dismisses the other partner. And then you've got a predictor that this couple is not going to feel cared for by each other long term. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's how you repair that's critical.
And I think that when you look at the dynamics of this situation, there's multiple things here. Like when we ask the overall question and what fuels that relationship on a long-term basis, does it make it feel like, do you feel like you matter? So there's, multiple behaviors. Like in this particular situation, it was being stood up once there was an agreement to spend time together. And then the other couple, the person who was stood up, making an attempt at least to call and find out, hey, where are you? Like, what's going on?
Happened?
And to not get an apology, and then to be told, I would rather spend time with someone else doing the same thing you asked me to do.
Right.
But a couple of days later, there's multiple messages that get sent in that. And that ultimately makes the other person feel like they don't matter.
Sure.
Right. So,
but there's a second question, Danielle, and that second one that we always ask. And if people are listening to this, think about the relationship issues that you have. All of them relate around 2 concepts. Do I matter? And when I'm in distress, will you show up?
Yeah.
And so if my partner stood me up, and then said, I'd rather be with other people, I'd be in pretty big distress, right? So if he or she added to that distress by coming in and saying, well, so what? Then I've got a pretty good predictor that this is not somebody to whom I matter, or with whom I can, count on that kind of love and protection and care when I'm in distress. And that's a big red flag in a relationship. We just want to bank that away and say, okay, is this a one-off? Is this like a one really badly behaved night? Yeah. Or is this a pattern that we're seeing in a relationship? Right. In a good relationship, at some point, that partner is going to come back and say, I should not have done that. I blew it. That was me at my worst. You've seen me at my best and my worst. That was my worst. Not going to let you feel that way again. Right. You're not going to feel that way with me. I'm really sorry.
It's the apology that really,
it's the repair.
Yeah.
It's the repair. Or we're looking for it the next time we invite them out to go and do something.
Yeah, exactly.
We're saying, are you going to do that to me again? Don't let me feel that way again. It's an injury.
Yeah. So, before we cut to break here in a few minutes, I want to spend some time talking about just the stress and the time of year. Because we talked about this a little bit before this segment. What's so special about this time of year right now, Carol?
Well, for all of us, this is the most stressful time of the year for couples.
How so?
Well, we've got too much family time going on. We've got a lot of expectations coming up. We've got high spike in divorce filings in January.
Mother-in-law's coming for 10 days.
Yes, and expectations about what that's going to look like and feel like, and then a heck of a lot of togetherness. Yeah. Way too much togetherness for a lot of people. I mean, yes, it's great too, but also there's more time for things to be flammable. Right. And expectations. And if you're walking into the holidays with an injury already, maybe an injury like the one that you've talked about, or a chronic feeling of I don't matter, and then this person does something that says, here, let me show you again how much you don't matter. It's just heartbreaking for us. There's a lot of heart and emotion that goes into the holidays. Thanksgiving has family around. Oh my gosh, don't treat me like I don't matter in front of my family. And the children are getting to see how we're treating each other. All of a sudden, these very family and emotion-oriented holidays become heartbreak. Yeah. Become heartbreak. This is why we see a lot of people get into very reactive depressive cycles, because they are legitimately sad. Right. You have the emotional context with also the financial burdens too that come with the holidays. Absolutely. And it compounds, I think, and there's the emotional avalanches, I think, that ensue during this period of time. Completely. It's completely an avalanche. One thing follows another, and then, as I always say, down the rabbit hole we go. Here we go. Here it comes. And then we blow it for a week and don't have time to recover because of all the stress and people coming into town. So I think if you have a partner and you care about that partner right now, it's very important to ask him or her, what are you hoping will happen over the holiday, right? What is the one thing that you want to see happen? Because I want to make that happen for you. Yeah. What is the most important thing for you? And most of us can handle all those other stresses as long as we feel cared for. Yeah. That's the thing we need to understand. None of us get into a relationship thinking it's not going to have stressors or problems, but we can deal with about anything if we feel cared for. Right. Does my partner feel cared for? 20 times the positive. At least. We haven't really detailed that, but we need to before we leave today. Yeah. Well, and I want to go into the next segment here with thinking about this next question on the game of what should you do when X, because this one's really, I think it's heartbreaking on multiple levels to hear something like this, and talking about breakups and just really figuring out where you're at in this process. So you're in the middle of what you consider probably prime breakup territory. Okay. And you're still trying, one partner is really trying to figure out where is this dysfunction coming from. And they suspect that their partner could be having an affair. And so they ask, are you having an affair? The partner's response is, no, but I am close with 3 women. Yeah. That strikes, I think, on multiple levels. Well, gosh, there are 100 other questions that we need answered about that. But if my partner were to say to me, are you having an affair? Although it's normal human nature for us to get super defensive, right? Get super defensive and say, how could you think that about me? Do you even know who I am? And, all those integrity issues. The other one that we would want to say is, wow, your tank must be really low for me if you think I'm having an affair.
Yeah.
Right? I'm so worried that what are we not doing that you think that?
Right.
When you see a lot of defensiveness, we say where there's smoke, there's fire. Right? Let's look and see what's really going on.
So we're going to come back to this question here in a few minutes. You're listening to AM Hot News Talk Radio. This doc is in the house. Dr. Danielle Mitchell here today with Dr. Carol Byrne-Stoney from Healing for Couples. We'll be back here in just a few minutes.
Expect a cloudy, breezy, and mild start to your Wednesday. We'll see rain and thunder showers march in from the west. Some of the rain locally heavy through early afternoon, highs upper 60s. Tonight, decreasing clouds, drier lows upper 40s. For Thursday, beautiful. Lots of sun near 65, turning cooler Friday. Come to Larry's world-famous buffet in Trenton, featuring some of the finest home-style cooking around. Larry also offers catering. That's Larry's, open Thursdays through Sundays, just off 559 Trenton. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
President Obama makes Jimmy Carter look like Napoleon Bonaparte. We have a president that leads from behind, and when America doesn't lead, bad things happen.
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's E.J. Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead. 622-3156.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Good afternoon, Chattanooga. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and this doc is in the house. This is Dr. Danielle Mitchell today, and I'm joined by our very special guest, Dr. Carol Byrne-Stoney from Healing for Couples. And our topic of discussion today is when the breakup was the best thing that ever happened to you. We're focusing today on how to dismantle dysfunctional relationship behaviors, and more importantly, how to really pull positive behaviors out of that experience and try and use them to move forward in a more healthy way that benefits you and your partner as well. So welcome to the show, Dr. Carol Byrne-Stoney. Thank you again for coming today. So before we left for break, we're playing this game called What Do You Do When You Discover X? And so we were basically in the middle of, there was a breakup situation, one partner suspecting the other of having an affair. They confront their partner. The partner says, no, I'm not, but I am close with 3 women. So let's expound upon that a little bit.
Well, first, there's too many questions that I would have to ask about that. First of all, if I were the partner who was accused of, being distant or having the affair, my first question, if I'm trying to have a healthy relationship, is going to be, well, do you not feel close to me?
Mm-hmm.
Are we not okay? Or is there something about these relationships that I have with other women that's scaring you? Right? That's all that is. Let's not listen to the content of the details of these 3 women, but let's talk about the 2 of us as a partnership and say, what's going on here?
So we're already at a point of breaking up. Like, this is breakup territory already happening. And so partner confronts the other. Boom, that's their response.
No, it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't think we can make sense out of nonsense.
Yeah.
Honestly, we just have to know a lot more. It's not a very respectful response. It sounds like a kind of scared defensive response.
Yeah.
But if we were to talk through it as a couple, we'd be saying, what is happening to you that you sense that things are not okay? Are you wanting to make things okay? What's happening with these 3 women? Are they important to you? Are they people you're wanting to pursue a relationship with? Is there, I think an important rule that we all have as couples is, can my partner know about these relationships? Does my partner feel included in the information about these relationships.
We were talking earlier in the show about what type of information is okay to exchange. And I'm certainly not saying, you can't have friends of the gender that you are attracted to. It's more the exchange of intimate details, because what happens, I think, in those personal, close, intimate relationships that then qualify as being emotional affairs is that the other partner that's not in that relationship is A, left defenseless, and B, is triangulated in a situation where they are being excluded, and it's not really helping to figure out and dismantle the dysfunction between the two people that are in the true relationship. So it's almost like somebody is going out at that point, and they are disengaging from that current relationship before really respectfully ending it. And that's a huge thing. Like, how do you respectfully end a relationship? I'm not happy. I don't think this is repairable. You ask your partner, I think we should go to counseling, and they decline you multiple times. What does that tell you?
We'd need to know a lot more about that situation. Some people are just scared of counseling. It doesn't mean that their partner doesn't matter, or they've heard that it doesn't work for their friend, or it made things worse. So I don't think we can ever assume what that means.
If you have somebody that's scared of counseling, how do you get them to make that step? Because I've seen that multiple times where people, and it's even more so. I have real empathy for guys, because
absolutely,
guys think like, oh, if I go to see a counselor that I'm somehow less of a man. Wow, guys, if I could tell you anything, if you actually go and see a counselor over dysfunction, I think your partner is going to look at that's one of the strongest things in an expression of vulnerability that is going to lead you into such immense positive territory and personal development in yourself. So don't feel afraid to go seek counseling when you feel like it's necessary or it's needed.
That's true, but also fire a counselor if he or she shames you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that a lot of men who walk in the office are very afraid of, that I'm just one more woman who's going to gang up on them and tell them that they're bad and wrong, and that there's just going to be an ally grabbing session. So if men ever feel that way in an office, they're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
If we're not talking to each other in a way that says, I care about you. And all of the situations that you're giving me, or at least the last couple, you're talking about situations where people were not talking to each other in a way that says, I care about you. Maybe I don't like the content of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm not having a respectful conversation with you about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the big difference. It's not the content that's a problem.
It's the disrespect.
Yeah. If somebody said to you, I've got these other 3 women that I'm very close to, I'd say, well, tell me about that. I mean, are you closer
Are they
friends
married?
with them?
Are they...
Are you missing out on, are we not doing something for you? Are you not getting enough time with me as a partner, or what's going on over there?
Right.
I do want to say something about what you said just a second ago, because it's so wise, and I want everyone to hear this. You are supposed to be attracted to lots of people in the world. And the first sign that we get into trouble is when we start talking about our personal relationships with other people that we're attracted to.
Yeah.
All right. That is the first slide into difficulty for any couple getting into an emotional or then physical affair, or any individual doing that.
Yeah.
The first thing they do is talk about their relationship.
The unhappiness.
The
in
unhappiness,
the
yes. And then the other person says, well, I would never let you feel that way. And I can't believe he or she treats you that way.
Seductive.
And off to the races you are.
And that's really where we talk about what types of intimate information is to be shared. And it goes back to this prior discussion. Your partner is left defenseless in that position. And chances are there's always 2 sides to a story.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's rare for some people to, I think there are 2 types of friendships that exist. And there are really close, tight, loyal friendships. But there's still this factor of some people don't possess the ability to tell their friend, you know what? I hear what you're saying and that you're unhappy in this situation. Have you tried to do X, Y, Z? I'm going to go out there on a limb and say, I don't think most friends will do that for friends, because they care about you. They see you in distress, and they're going to want to placate you and not necessarily hold your hand to the flame over stuff. So if you're seeking counsel from people who don't also have successful patterns in their own life over stuff, then you're almost, just open your mouth wide and let the garbage come in. Yeah.
Yeah. It's contagious.
It is.
It really is when people are having relationship distress. I always tell couples when they first come in, please don't trust the advice of your friends and family
or your mom,
right now.
or going to mom is the worst thing.
They love you so much, and all they want you to do is be out of distress.
Yeah.
Right. So their motives are beautiful, but they're going to do a lot of damage.
And they damage your partner more than they do, and then the relationship in the turn, because that person that you're sharing that intimate information with, may be seducing you into an emotional and then a physical relationship. But also, secondly, if it's somebody like a parent, like let's say a daughter is sharing information about, intimate details with one of her parents. Now suddenly the other person in that relationship is going to be looked at differently by their parent. And that's not fair. That's really not fair. You have not allowed your partner to be represented. So I love that you mentioned that, because when you start talking about the unhappiness factor of what's going on in a relationship, like, it's okay to talk about I'm unhappy, but when there's intimate details of a relationship going on, that's between you and your partner.
Right.
And then getting a counselor involved if you need to.
Well, let's talk about expectation of protection here, right? And we have to protect people even when we don't feel like it, if we're going to be in relationship to them.
Yeah.
That's what our culture struggles with so much. We don't want to be hungry. We don't want to be sick. We don't want to be, so all this pathology comes out of that. We also don't want to feel bad about anything, badly about anything. So, we don't want to hurt about partner distress. And so we say terrible things about our partners. Ask yourself at all times, am I being protective of this person?
Yeah.
Even if I don't feel like it, am I being protective? There is no way later that you're going to regret holding your tongue, biting your tongue until it's bloody if you need to, because you really want to cut this person to shreds because you're hurt. Okay, fine. That's a feeling, and it's going to pass at some point.
Yeah.
But you're just terrorizing people if you do that, and it's not okay. Relationships, and here's the definition that I like, Danielle. They are the ultimate contract of protection for another human being.
Yeah, it is, because you are really, in some ways I hear that and I feel like it's standing up for your partner as well. Like, you function together as a team. And I've oftentimes said, like, there are even times where I might not necessarily agree with my partner in some of the decisions or their beliefs. 70% of the time we disagree.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's right.
But I'm not going to go out there and publicly not stand by my partner, because that sends a message that I'm not with you. That
it's dismissive. It's contempt. It's the number one predictor of divorce.
Yeah.
All right.
Really?
Absolutely. If you get into and a lot of times because we express it as sarcasm and just ugly, dismissive, character cutting kinds of things that we can say to our partners. And I think we need to remember that.
Yeah.
That is because we're all funny. If you look on the sitcoms, you can see how you can get really clever and funny when somebody hurts you. It is the number one predictor of divorce, being dismissive of somebody's character and their beliefs.
So would you feel like, I want to go back to when people are coming into new relationships, because we always ask, like, well, oh my gosh, there's all of these things out there that, could be potential relationship enders for me. But like, I think some of these common instincts come to play, and I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but there's certainly healthier behaviors to ascribe to.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've noticed a pattern with is there are different types of relationships now that develop. So you have to ask yourself, what type of relationship do you want? Do you want the long-term physical and emotional, which is really the traditional relationship? Do you want the long-term physical only? Because that is definitely a newer relationship pattern that I'm seeing. People do not want the emotional responsibility of being tied to someone, but the sexuality and that portion of the relationship, they're very attracted to. Yeah. And then there's the long-term emotional. I really enjoy this person from an emotional standpoint,
but not the physical.
But not the physical.
Yeah. That happens a lot too.
And then there's the short-term relationship, which is a whole other entity in and of itself. So depending on what category you're classifying yourself into for wanting, what do you want out of a relationship? How do you go then? Like let's say somebody is going on a first date and they're somebody who is really wanting long-term emotional and physical. So the traditional relationship setting. Let's say they walk to the first date and they think, I'm not physically attracted to this person. What should they do at that point?
See them again if they like them. Right? See them again if they like them, because you don't know anybody before about 3 months.
Yeah.
You really don't know that person. And
So you're going to get the emotional component. Give the emotional component a chance.
Yes, there's nothing more attractive than somebody than you're attracted to emotionally. And after a couple of months of seeing somebody, 2 or 3 months, you really just can't even stand kissing that person.
Yeah.
You've got your sign, right? But you know what? That's not usually what happens when you really like somebody.
Yeah.
It's just not what happens. If we're just going off that first look, you know, most of us aren't going to fit most people's profiles, right? I mean, this is this is really, really important. You're not monogramming towels after the first time you go out with somebody. It should be like looking around. How do we fit? Do we like each other?
Yeah.
I was telling my 16-year-old boy today that, or telling him yesterday, that if there were a whole room of girls, not all of them would he want to go out with, right? And not all of them would want to go out with him.
Yeah.
Right. That's normal. This is a process. It's exciting of getting to know people. It's not personal.
And that's really
It's a
where
fit.
I want to make a comment too, because a lot of like online dating has become so prevalent, and it's really kind of window shopping, if you will. It's getting at the physical, but you're only glossing the surface of like, what is the emotional
But
content
most people
here?
aren't even putting accurate pictures.
I know, right? It's like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. Does Kelly LeBrock still look that great? Like, I just didn't get it. So, but yeah, I mean, it really, because online dating, I think, can be very frustrating for people.
Sure.
And so you have to ask yourself again, what type of relationship is it that I really am looking for? Long-term emotional, physical, long-term physical, or long-term emotional? And then being able to decipher and give yourself that patience factor to say, okay, you know what? I had first date with this person. I wasn't wowed over from my physical, like what I prefer, but giving them the opportunity, both of you, to get to know each other.
Well, you might have just met another extraordinary human being.
Right.
Somebody who's kind and makes your world better, and maybe you won't be sleeping with them for the next 50 years. Yeah. But you've met another wonderful human being. And if you're not assigning all these crazy expectations to what's going on, it can be so pleasurable. This is not cheerleading tryouts.
Yeah. And going into online dating too, having had experience in that arena, and one of the most functional behaviors that I actually approached it with and have had success with is to say, you know, I'm not going to this meeting with the thought of like, I want to date this person, I want to marry him. You know, you're just not going to it. You're approaching it as a way to meet people and to expand your friendship circle. And I can honestly say, like, I have met a bunch of people through that process that I still actually consider friends and talk to and see and have lunch with. And I really have learned to appreciate that. So it's almost taking that pressure off the dating situation when you say, you know what, I really want friendship first. Like if you're wanting the long-term emotional and physical relationship, approach it from friendship first is kind of one of my big things that I tell people, because then you have a nice foundation going into it and you allow yourself that time to get to know the person.
Well, and be more concerned about what you bring to the table than what they bring.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're focused on that, then you walk in confident and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Give it some time.
Yeah. And I think it gives you that opportunity to explore, you know, there's some beautiful things about relationships, and allowing yourself to discover those things about your potential partner at that point. Being in a relationship now that I feel is just the emotional intimacy is amazing. You really feel like, wow, okay, this is what it's all about, and being able to compliment that person. So you are listening to AM Hot News Talk Radio. We are live, www.hotnewstalkradio.com. Dr. Carol Burns Stoney has joined me from Healing for Couples. You can reach her at www.healingforcouples.com, and you can reach me on Facebook as well. Have a good afternoon, Chattanooga. Thank you for listening.
Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a cloudy, breezy, and mild start to your Wednesday. We'll see rain and thunder showers march in from the west. Some of the rain locally heavy through early afternoon, highs upper 60s. Tonight, decreasing clouds, drier lows upper